The Knocking Doors Down podcast, aiming to end the stigma around addiction and mental health, with celebrities, experts, and everyday people, featuring Sheen, Lamar Odom, Mike the Situation Sorrentino, Kelly Osbourne, AJ McLean, Bam Margera, Kurt Angle, Carmen Electra, Caitlyn Jenner, Edward Furlong, and Denise Richards. Available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Go to kddpodcast.com and subscribe now.
Hey everybody, Sheen here. I just did a great podcast with KDD Media called Knocking Doors Down. And yes, we did just that. Tune in, you're gonna love it. Right on. There's another thing to consider that's just practical and real and true and rampant. Fentanyl.
Yeah.
Fentanyl. You keep f***ing around with street drugs these days. I mean, there's a 90% chance that it's gonna have fentanyl. And there's a 90% chance you're not gonna survive it.
The answer to who I got tattooed on my leg.
And our guest this Monday.
So Charlie, this is the second time we've hung out, man. I kind of feel like we're best friends at this point. So that being said, I would like to commemorate our friendship. If you would be so kind to write your name down.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a tattoo.
Are you sure about that?
I'm gonna get a tattoo.
Really? Are you sure?
I called my tattoo artist. He said, "On it, bring it, let's do it." I love Charlie Sheen. I'm like, sick. Me too. So
wow.
do it.
I mean, no, I'm super flattered. I'm very honored. But if it goes bad between us,
then I'll just put a Day of the Dead skull over it.
Oh wow. Okay.
What up? Check out the KDD podcast called Knocking Doors Down. We talk about Viva La Bam, all the Jackass movies, and pretty much everything. So you don't want to miss this one. Check it out. Yeah, man. Now I just want to honestly just be a sober, good person.
Sure.
Yeah. I've seen, it takes footage of seeing me. There's times where I thought that I got gold and I'd have to relook at what we got, and I could barely even form sentences with Andy McCoy, and we're not making any sense. And I'm just like, dude, this is really pathetic, man. I got to stop. I was waking up to Jack Daniels and hot tea. Maybe if there was some white drugs, I'd be doing that. Anything besides heroin, of course. Well, me on the other hand,
I handled that one.
Yeah, that was okay.
I saw a doctor at the end of the tour, and he said, "Your legs are like dehydrated, dry, rotten rubber bands that I don't know that you could ever heal from this."
Right.
So I lean over to try to touch my toes, and my hamstring just popped.
Hey guys, go check out the podcast I did on KDD Media. Mwah.
I think a different generation thinks that I'm from a very wealthy family and maybe live like a Hilton. No, I'm very independent, and I work hard, and my mom taught me that, and I always wanted to be that and not have to depend on anybody.
How did you perceive maybe addiction prior to ever being involved with anyone that had an addictive past?
I felt like through love I could help. Yeah. And had this codependency where I would feel like the person in my life that had an addiction needed me. Mm-hmm. And they would have codependency with me as well. And I thought that was love.
Hey guys, go check out the podcast I did with KDD Media called Knocking Doors Down. It's available now. Check it out.
Mikey, Lamar Odom with us.
Yes, sir. Lamar Odom, how you doing, man?
It's a good day to be alive considering the alternative.
Well, Lamar, I want to start off, one of my best friends, he went to San Diego State and played against you in college. And so I thought it was a good way to start. He said the day he knew he was not making it to the NBA was the day he played against Lamar Odom.
Oh, man. Well, I hate to ruin his dream just by being myself. But I don't know. I'm just here living, trying to live my best life now, I guess.
Hi, I'm Kelly Osbourne. Tune into Knocking Doors Down this week, where I'm going to be talking all things sobriety and recovery, and I'm sharing my story with you, and I hope that I can give you guys a little bit of encouragement and hope if you're going through what I'm going through too. See you there. I'm a victim of myself, and that is it. And I cannot do this. And I don't want to be Cali sober. That to me is a cop-out. And it's not sober.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
You're playing with fire and all of that. And like, I tried to be Cali sober for 1 week. Nah.
How'd that go? How'd that go, Kelly? Hey, welcome to the club.
Like crying, eating fucking nachos and getting like ranch dressing all down myself and like not even caring, like swigging from whatever bottle I could find. And then it was like this person's fault for something and someone else's fault for something else. And it literally just took one look at somebody that I truly adore looking at me, and I was like, nope, I'm done. It took one look. So Jack and I and my mom and dad, we did the reality show, and I was already an addict by then, before the show started.
And how old are you when that, like 15?
I was 15 when I signed the contract, 16 when it aired.
Okay.
I was living in the Sunset Marquis Hotel, and I used to put pajamas on, climb out my bedroom window, down a tree, into the bar, and sit there and clean the glasses, and they'd make me Malibu pineapple. And this was like back in the day when no one cared. Like, there was no Lindsay Law or like, I went to the Rainbow, the Roxy, the Whiskey. I was out at clubs like Las Palmas.
I lived off Las Palmas.
I was at everything from like 13 years old. And I started straight with opiates.
You know, it's a blessing to be in this position, but it all comes down to decisions, right? You're, you know, in life, you're a product of your decisions. If you're making good decisions, you start to go in like a positive trajectory. If you're making bad decisions, then you have to look in the mirror and say, you know what, like, I'm the one that's making the bad decisions. Like, I got to fix it. I got to make some changes.
Right.
I eventually went to prison. You know what I'm saying? You know, that reckless, careless behavior on those bad decisions led me to going to prison, led me to paying, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers, hundreds of thousands of dollars on fines, and me practically, you know, almost losing everything I had and having to like rebuild it back up. So that was also documented too. But I have to take accountability because I'm the one that was doing all that stuff, you know?
Where you are now may not be where you came from. Sometimes you're preparing for success, and sometimes you're preparing for failure. The choices you make today may spiral out of control or spin you in the right direction. Your past doesn't define you, but the choices you make today can change your life forever. The drive can motivate you or destroy you. But you have to find a way out. Discover a riveting real-life story of recovery that will inspire you. Believe, make it happen, and live through the madness. Knocking doors down along the way. Read the true story of how Carlos Vieira nearly destroyed his life and lived to tell about it. And don't miss others telling their powerful stories on our podcast. Visit kddmediacompany.com.
For anyone listening that wants to, you know, do this, you can, dude. You really can, man. And, you know, don't, you know, time's ticking, dude. You know, every day that you waste doing this shit is another day gone, and it's like you'll regret that. For sure. But you can do it. It's funny, dude. Like, I remember just in my 20s, like, you know, this girl I was dating. I mean, she was like crying. I was literally, no, I was late teens, 20s, and she was freaked out because, like, if we went out anywhere, it's like, okay, well, I have to make, at the time, it was screwdrivers. So I had to drink up like 3 screwdrivers just so we could go out.
Sure.
And I was like, trying to explain to her, like, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable around people unless I'm drunk.
Calms your anxiety.
Yeah, and it just freaked her out, dude. It just freaked her out. And it's like, yeah, it's still like that, man.
Hey guys, Kurt Angle here. I just did a podcast with KDD Media Company called Knocking Doors Down. It's available now. Be sure and check it out. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. I ended up breaking my neck 4 more times in WWE. So that's when the painkillers started and, you know, the drinking and everything. So it was, you know, I got introduced to painkillers the second time I broke my neck, which was the first time in WWE, was in 2003. And I was introduced to painkillers by a doctor and I loved it. The second I took it, I was hooked. One thing that did really affect me was when my sister died of a heroin overdose. The same year I started the painkillers. She you know, passed away and she OD'd on heroin. So that was the toughest thing I had to deal with. And when that happened, that's when I started really taking a lot more painkillers. One thing that did really affect me was when my sister died of a heroin overdose. The same year I started the painkillers. She passed away and she OD'd on heroin. So that was the toughest thing I had to deal with. And when that happened, that's when I started really taking a lot more painkillers.
Hey guys, I just did a podcast for KDD Media called Knocking Doors Down. Check it out right now.
If you're telling me it's cool to drink with you, but then the next day you're going to give me the 3rd degree, I'm going to go back to being a recluse and drink alone in my room.
Yep.
Or go do something stupid. Like get in trouble with the Russian mob, which I did. You know, like on Thanksgiving of all times. And that was my demise. Me going solo to Vegas, obviously already on the flight over, I'm texting my dealer, everything is lined up. And per usual, I thought I could sober up by the time I got home, but I never stopped. Mm-hmm. So I smelled like a bar when I got home. And my youngest daughter, both my kids have saved my life, but my youngest daughter was really the one that kind of put the nail in the coffin for me. When I sat down next to her on our living room couch, she normally is all about cuddle time. And she started, and then she backed up and she said, "You don't smell like my dad."
Hey guys, I just did the coolest podcast for KDD Media, Knocking Doors Down. So make sure you check it out. I love these guys.
You know, whenever I'm going through something challenging, I always remember someone always has it worse. Sure. And so truly, and I just have to be, I went through a horrible divorce. Everything was public, all that stuff. And I had to get to a point where I couldn't even read anything, didn't want to hear about it. And, I could have gone down another path, but I had to just live in a bubble and really regroup and know what's important and focus on that. Because at the end of the day, who's there at the end of the day? And a lot of people ask me about that, like going through a divorce. And my biggest advice when people ask me is, I never wanted the kids to be privy to any discord between us because it had nothing to do with them. And I didn't want them to ever feel that. And so they were obviously very little when we got divorced, but the stuff in the tabloids lasted years and I tried my best to protect them from all of that.
After it was all over with, the games are over with, this and that, years go by, you kind of look back on your life and you're trying to figure out, because I look at that lifestyle that I was living at that time. I was living on $10,000 a year, driving a 63 VW Bug I paid $175 for. And living in this little dinky apartment and, $145 a month apartment and, training 6 to 8 hours a day.
Right.
That's what I did. I trained and lived on nothing. And I look at that today and I look at the dedication and how much time and energy I put into it. I go, why did I do that? And I have to look back, and you go back even farther. I look back and say, you know what? If I had not had those issues, being dyslexic and gender dysphoric and these things, confusing things in my head, I wouldn't have needed sports. Let's say like I was just an average kid getting average grades and kind of fitting in with everything. When sports came around, I really wouldn't have needed it.
Yeah.
But for me, I needed it. And it set up a pattern that really led me all the way through the games. And it's interesting because my biggest asset athletically was not my physical skills. I was okay physically, I could get the job done physically, but my mental skills, I was just mentally so strong that when I needed a performance, I would come up with that performance.
Hey all, Gary Busey here. I did a podcast with the guys from KDD Media Company called Knocking Doors Down, and it's available now. Make sure to check it out. You'll be surprised without knowing it. Check it out. Knocking Doors Down. Check it out. Feeling so good. Check it out. Knocking Doors Down. Row.
The truth of recovery has to come from you and you alone, for you and your truth. And your belief in yourself, and your belief in how good you are. It's hard to do when you're deep in a drug, how good you are, because you don't feel good when you're doing it.
Hey guys, so I did a podcast with the host from KDD Media called Knocking Doors Down. It's available right now, so make sure to check my episode out. We talk about sobriety and mental health in general. And also, don't forget to go to their Instagram page right now, or just make sure to click on the link in my bio to check out their amazing podcast, because it truly is an inspirational one. So thank you boys for having me, and check it out. Bye. There's so much that I now do religiously that it has changed my life. I'm not like trying to be all corny, but it's just that having gratitude makes you really grateful, like in actuality, and putting just the simple things in your life as something that you never want to take for granted. Yeah. Just being grateful to have a roof over your head, you know, like it's actually so simple. It has made me, I guess, change my perspective when it comes to relationships, because then I start to be grateful for the people who have taught me lessons, whether that be from, my past. And I guess this is what they mean by forgiveness, in a way that you don't forgive for the action that was done to you, you forgive for yourself, so that you can not come to closure, but like just to come to the, acceptance of like what it is. You're not forgiving the person for the action that was done to you and done to others. You're just forgiving for yourself to create peace so that you can sleep at night. I'm looking into possibly seeing a trauma specialist, like when it comes to therapy. I've been with the same therapist who's been amazing for the last decade, but I feel like as much as I want to say, like, I'm tired of just, I know why, right? I know why I am a certain way, and I know what's triggering to me, and I know what makes me want to do certain things, and I know why I have control issues, why I may be jealous at times, why, there's a lot of,
Sure.
I know where, but then there's been this part of me that's like, okay, but now what? Let's move forward, right? Like, I've connected the dots there.
Where you are now may not be where you came from. Sometimes you're preparing for success, and sometimes you're preparing for failure. The choices you make today may spiral out of control or spin you in the right direction. Your past doesn't define you, but the choices you make today can change your life forever. The drive can motivate you,
or destroy you. But you have to find a way out. Discover a riveting real-life story of recovery that will inspire you. Believe, make it happen, and live through the madness.